It's another original BW Sports 1 production.
Pew pew!
I guess it would help if I was on the screen. But it's good, everyone. This is your man's TheOne, and this is the Dukes of Football. I am running solo today. Dan is out coaching for a couple weeks with his daughter, which is always awesome to get out and have fun with the kids and the youth. So I'll be pulling solo duty for a couple weeks. Occasionally we'll probably have some people drop in on it and be guest hosts and all of those good things. But I am going to be delivering you the football gospel for the next several weeks. So should be a great show. We had some pretty awesome games last weekend, and I apologize for the technical difficulties that I had last week. Hopefully, we shouldn't have those technical difficulties this week, but I do have a more primitive backup plan just in case those problems do arise. So, we got an exciting week of football. A lot of things has happened in the last few days. You know, if you're on the college scene, obviously there's been great talk with the University of Michigan and all of the things that are going on. I mean, it's hard to filter through which story, which feed is giving you the most accurate information. I've heard a lot of different things, but I'm gonna say right here, we just let due process go. You know what I mean? If they did whatever, I mean, we've talked about it before. You know how nobody is really in the uproar about this except for teams in the Big Ten. You know what I'm saying? Or certain individuals. A lot of this conversation is just being held, throughout the public's mindset. You know what I mean? If Jim did it, then we'll accept the consequences and move on. But you can't deny that these young men, that this isn't a really good football team. I'd go with the Deion said it before when I've had these conversations. I go with the Deion Sanders thing. You still got to stop them. You still got to stop whoever it is that you're trying to stop. You know what I mean? You can tell me I'm going in the A gap on this call, but unless you got the testicular fortitude to stop me going in the A gap, it doesn't really make a bit of difference. But it is what it is. There's a lot of conversation coming up here in the next couple weeks. In the next 3 weeks we got two big games. You got Penn State this week. I'm gonna hold my conversation on that. And then we have Maryland, which will be your trap game in between them and which a lot of the rumors are behind the controversy is Ohio State. So you can shut a lot of people up in the next 3 weeks. And so just do it on the field. So, but, that's a story, the big story in college right now. There's some things in in the NFL. So there's a lot going on. So I guess we can just get right into it. I got some good games picked this week too. So, yeah. So, yeah. So I guess where we go, since we've already started the conversation, we'll go ahead and start off in the NCAA. Do I like that one? No, I want that one. There we go. That's the one that looks better. So we'll start off in the NCAA. Obviously, that's the big story going on. But inside that, you have a lot of stuff to be talked about because there's a lot of matchups this weekend that can directly contribute to the outcome or the decision making of the final four picks. We have the release of the second week of the CFP, and I think there's only 4 more weeks left of the pickings to determine who are those finals. So let's see here. This is the new It says the first. I guess I should have updated it, paid a little more attention. But it's actually the second CFP top 10 rankings. I don't really look outside the top 10 because right now the top 10, outside the top 10, doesn't really do anything. We had them on for the regular AP poll, but, because that was for aesthetic. You wanted to see who was where, who's moving up, who's moving in. But really right now, the only thing that you worry about is the top 10, really the top 6. So from last week, pretty much the top 5, 6 stayed the same. Ohio State at number 1, which I'm not going to argue it too difficult that they're number 1 for the simple fact at the time they had played ranked teams, 2 ranked teams. So I'll give them that. They have Georgia at number 2. I can't argue it, but I can. Regardless of how they've looked on the field, they've won all of their games. They haven't lost in 2 years. They're the back-to-back national champions. I hate that the conversation is about Michigan's strength of schedule, yet Georgia has the 90th strength of schedule, but we don't want to talk about that. So I'll give them a pass as the 2 national championships. But Georgia comes in at 2, Michigan at 3, Florida State at 4. I think that's the team that most people just think they're going to lose the quickest is the Florida State. I have to look in on that. Pace Buckner is back for UConn. Let's see. So after Florida State, which is a really good team, they still have a couple games that could be dicey coming up in the ACC championship run. Let's see. You got Washington, who's got a big game this week. Once again, Washington is looking pretty good. I said it earlier in the year, they're probably one of the most complete teams. They had a couple lows here in the middle. Everybody has lows when you get to a certain point in the season because you have injuries and things like that, but they're still heading pace. Oregon is leading the pack of the one-loss teams. I think they look the best of the one-loss teams for the moment because this Alabama looks pretty good. I know they was struggling earlier in the year, got the loss to Texas, but since then they have looked Alabama-ish, and that's a team that has a pretty straightforward path to the SEC championship game where they would most likely face Georgia. They do have a game this week against Ole Miss, but I don't put a whole lot of faith in Lane Kiffin actually beating the real coach. So we'll go with that, which brings us to the Ole Miss, followed up by Penn State, who has a big game this weekend hosting Michigan, which is going to be a really good game. Penn State would love to have a bounce-back opportunity with the loss to Ohio State to try to make this thing a little more difficult when it comes into the last deciding the East in the Big Ten. What else would they be going like? And then this is a put up game for Michigan. I admit has had a breeze kind of a schedule. The only part of that schedule that you could really complain about is they're at a conference. The conference schedule, you can't really get on that for that. Those teams being weak, they don't pick the order of those games. The conference picks those games. You play who they select in front of you. Now you can say something about the UNLV. Not the Fresno State, the UNLV, the East Carolina, but you can also have that same argument about Georgia playing UT Martin, and I forgot the other one that I had written down that was just like, okay, so you want to complain about our schedule, but Georgia has the 90th rank, so they're not much better. So you should get that same respect. In Michigan, you have to come in here. All the talk is on you for the past 3 weeks about these signals and whatever. You know what I mean? The last 2 weeks, you've two of these biggest complainers, you've pretty much destroyed them, but those teams weren't good anyway. You did what you were supposed to do. So you do this to this top 10 Penn State team, and then a lot of this rhetoric is going to fall back a little bit. You know what I mean? Not much, but it's going to fall back a little bit. So I expect a really good game out of that. Anything else in the college that is talked about? Not Dion. We've talked pretty much a good deal about that. He's just trying to get find a way to get those last two wins to get him bowl eligible. So I think he's got a good shot. We'll shout out to his daughter, who's on the Buffalo's women's basketball team, who beat the number one ranked and defending champion LSU Tigers last evening. So shout out to Colorado. So the Sanders are making an impact all over the Colorado University. Let's see, anything else for college before I jump in to these picks, these games for the week? I'm trying to come up with something. I can probably figure out as I talk through these games. So first up, let's see, before we get to the games, that's what we got to do. We got to give you guys the update from last week's games, so you can see where the standings are for our network picks. I am still holding in a 4-point lead at the top. And then it's a tight race. I mean, we're not too far apart. If you guys remember the tallies from last year, man, I was in the gutter. So I am enjoying this front running. I'm not going to get too cocky because it can change in a heartbeat, but I'm excited that I'm finally picking. And my son goes, hey, well, if you're getting all these right, why don't you bet on the games? I said, as soon as I bet on these games, I'm going to lose it all. So I want to keep my mojo flowing. So as we go to that, as you can see those, so now we're going to move into our Doc Sport, BW Sports Network picks of the week, the NCAA version. Text hashtag BW Sports to 29022 for your free $60 in picks. I like to say shout out to Doc Sports, man. They've been with us since we started, and they keep honoring this promotional deal. So you guys keep tagging in on it. So it's pretty great. So let's get into these games. First game up, we have the 18th ranked Utah Utes traveling to the 5th ranked Washington. Utah has put up a really good fight this year. I think they won more games than I would anticipate it, being that Ryzen hasn't played all year. But their backup quarterbacks, the three that they've rotated in, has kept them involved. They've won some big games, and here they don't control their destiny to get the Pac-12 championship, but they can mess up a couple other teams, being Washington being one of them, who is undefeated. Michael Penix Jr. He's 1-2, flip-flop each week with J.J. McCarthy from Michigan for the Heisman. Right in the Heisman lead right now, so you got a couple big games for both of those people to both of those players to set aside themselves as the two front runners for the Heisman. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is still somewhere in there, so this is a really big game. If you're on the line, you can see it. They're giving Washington 9.5. That's a pretty good number, and the over/under is 52. Me, I wouldn't take. I would take the points and the under. I mean the over. That's what I would do in this game. Me, if I was betting, but I'll just like to straight do it. So that's how you go. And this is how the network voted. So it's pretty much Washington, the consensus. Tim is the lone voter of the Utahs. You guys can check Tim out over at just a little bit outside. I think they're on hiatus for a little bit since the baseball season has concluded, but I'm sure they got some pretty cool off-season stuff planned for you, so make sure you check those guys out. Check some of their syndicated shows over on the YouTube channel, so that will be pretty cool. So let's move on to Game 2. Game 2, we have number 9, Ole Miss, 8-1 versus Georgia, number 2 at 9-0. Big game in the SEC. Lane Kiffin's got the the Ole Miss team looking pretty good. They're explosive on offense, but they do give up a lot of points on defense. Georgia, just like last year, around this time, they're starting to really get into form. The tight end being out is not that big of a deal for them right now because they're just plug and play. I know they're not winning each game by 20 and 25 points, but they're showing their dominance in each game, and they look better and better in each game. So this is going to be a good game to watch for the SEC because this is pretty much going to determine who's going to come out of that one side of the SEC. So, and here is how the network picked it. Again, we got a lone rebel going for those wolves. This is the lone wolf to pick those one team. So you see Steven, and good shout out to Steven. Today is his birthday, so we say happy birthday to Steven. Way to be old, my good friend. You can check him out on Super Kicking It with Steven and Greg, the rest of the show, and you can see all those guys on our YouTube channel as well. So jump in there and check them out. And you see everybody else is we all going for the Bulldogs. What was the line on that? The line on that was Georgia 10.5, and over under is 58. You know, I'd have to take the points again against the points for this one because Ole Miss is explosive and Georgia hasn't blown people out, but they have won games. So I actually see this game under 58 points and probably a 6-point win for Georgia. That's what I'm looking at. Let's see. So we move on to our last college game. First game of the year that we have Michigan on our picks. Last year I put them on quite a bit because a lot more of the games were a little bit more viable. Most of our games this year haven't been worth a whole bunch of anything, just a lot of good live practice rounds. And here for us, the season begins. You got Penn State today, then Ohio State in 2 weeks. So this is a test. You know what I mean? Are they as dominant as they appear to be? You know, are those 7 NFL players on the defense going to show up how they've been going? A good thing that this game is a noon tip because the later it gets in the day, the more difficult it is to win in Nittany Valley. So kudos for whoever got these schedule times in the favor of the Wolverines. We appreciate you. Yes, go blue. So you already know where the allegiance lies in the household. So let's see how we pick them. Oh, I guess I could talk about Penn State a little bit. Huge game for them. Has to be for them. You know what I mean? The not-so-good showing, the loss to Ohio State, and the not-so-good showing with IU. They bounced back last week really well. Looked explosive at times, but still has some issues that I feel that plays into the strength of Michigan's defense and offense. So, you know, I'd really love to talk more shit about this game, but I'm not. I am going to be the good guy. I don't want to say the good guy. That's not the word. I'm going to be, kosher? Diplomatic, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I love it. Here we go. This is what the network speaks. Oddly, yes. Yeah, I'll let you guys, think about that, how the difference is there of, some allegiance and things of that nature. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say there. Clean sweep for the network on the Wolverines. So there it is for college. Those were our Doc Sports, NCAA, BW Sports Network picks of the week. Again, brought to you by Doc Sports. Text hashtag BW Sports 2900. No, I said that wrong. Scratch that. Text 29022 for your free $60 in picks. Shout out to Doc Sports. All right, so before we do that, our elite performers of Let's see. Here we go. Yes, Elite Performance Performers, brought to you by Elite Performance, where the dream of elite fitness becomes reality. Call the Red-Headed Hawk at 765-499-1005 and start your elite journey today. Let's see. I'm going to go with, there's a couple teams that I could have chose, a couple players I could have chose for the Elite Performance. I am going to go with Oklahoma State as the Elite Performance with their win over just read that with their win over Oklahoma, almost kind of ruining their second chance or their respirator chance at getting into the playoff. Now, if you knew what she was talking about, there was a meme at the Michigan Purdue game. The Purdue mascot, if I had the picture, I'd have showed it. The Purdue mascot had on a Ohio State pajamas thing filming Michigan. It was crazy. So, but it was a tickle I got to enjoy out of it. I have enjoyed a lot of the memes about the different people being scouted with films and all this stuff. It's great. It's just more publicity for the brand. I'm sure that the revenue has gone up exponentially with all of the publicity that the university has acquired over the last few ticks. So here we go. Ready, set, NFL. Big news is more of the movements and the returning players for the NFL. Let's see, Aaron Rodgers. You know, if you watched that game, you had to watch something other than the game because that game was terrible to watch on the Jet side. If you were like the wife and I, we watched Peyton. We watched Peyton and Eli. That's what we did. And if you didn't, you just watched Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. I mean, they caught him at throwing 50-yard passes. He's pushing off on that Achilles. It doesn't seem to be wearing too much of a brace. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and he used the words a few fortnights of his might possible return. If you understood the word fortnight, what it means is beyond the game that these kids spend ridiculous money on for e-bucks that I really don't understand, but that's beside the point. Fortnite is roughly about 2 weeks. So Aaron Rodgers kind of sneakily predicted that he'll be back in roughly about 2 weeks. So we should see if that happens or not. That has to be some LeBron James miraculous HGH type of stuff to come back from a torn Achilles and play in the same season. I guess you can do that if you did it on the third play of the first game of the season. But I want to see how this plays out. If he comes back, he might be my new favorite player. I mean, that's ridiculous. So let's see, what else do we see here for football? We have Carson Wentz, who was just signed by the Rams. Obviously, they're in desperation mode in the quarterback situation. If you're pulling Carson Wentz off the street and signing him as your quarterback, I think they're trying to have a Joshua Dobbs type miraculous event or a Baker Mayfield for them last year, coming in off the street and winning a couple games for them. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what their expectations of Carson Wentz is going to be. He said a few. So I guess it depends on how many fortnights is considered a few. A few fortnights. So that's a few 2 weeks. A few is 3, right? So 6 weeks. So that puts him at the last game of the season. Is that right? 6 weeks. Few is 3, right? A couple is 2, a few is 3. We said a few fortnights. That's 3 times. Okay, yeah. I just did algebra. So if you guys figured out that you don't do algebra after you leave high school, you're wrong. I just did algebra. But anyway, and I digress, and we move on. What else? Kyler Murray is to make his return to the Cardinals this weekend. Considering they got rid of Josh Dobbs, I don't see why, but Kyler Murray and his brand new line of men's sports bras will be debuting for the Cardinals this weekend. I don't see anything that resembles anything positive out of that situation. I think they're going to get rid of him. They're either going to get Caleb Williams or May from North Carolina. So there we have it with that. Let's see. Who are our under and overachievers at the midway point of the season? If I'm to sit here and think overachiever, I'm going to have to say the Pittsburgh Steelers, one team that is definitely an overachiever. Still not having a 400-yard passing game or 400-yard offensive game, period. We came close last week, but still not have it in almost 3 years. To be outgained in yardage in every single game that they played this season and still at 5-3, I would have to say Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers once again overachievers. 3 more games and you're 500, bro. 3 more out of the next 8 games, and you're 500 once again. Me as a Steeler fan, is that what we're going to settle for? Or is at some point in time we're going to try to rectify some of these roles and start trying to win some championships, some more championships? That's a great question that we need to ask ourselves. I'm a great Mike Tomlin fan. I am. I was him. I dressed up him as Halloween a couple years ago. But, we have to be a little bit more in urgency of winning championships or putting ourselves back in winning championship mode. Right now we're just kind of wasting TJ Watt's ability. We're wasting what we have left of Minka Fitzpatrick. We're wasting the young development of Highsmith and some of these others, these Joey Porter Juniors that's coming along. So I feel that, we have to look at ourselves in the mirror. We have to make some hard choices. Mike Tomlin is the time to put certain people in positions, take certain people out of positions that they don't need anymore. Matt Canada, is it time for you to move him and get somebody else to upbeat our offense? Is this the last evaluation of Pickett? We got to do something. So that's how I feel with the overachiever. Underachiever, I'm going to have to say another overachiever would be the Tampa Bay Bucks. Not knowing who their quarterback was going to be, and for them to be in a good situation they are with Baker, still flirting with because that NFC South is kind of fluffery. So, they still have a chance to, do something there. Let's see, underachiever. It's hard to say that the Chicago Bears are underachiever because you didn't expect them to achieve too much anyway, but you were doing worse than what any of us thought how bad you were going to be. So, yeah, I have to give the unfounded, underachiever would be the whoever I just said. Let's see. Anybody else underachieving? Buffalo? You say Buffalo? I can say Buffalo. I can say the Buffalo Bills are underachieving. You can say San Francisco's underachieving because injuries hadn't played a part in their debacling, I guess, a little bit with Deebo Samuels. You still got McCaffrey. You still got Purdy. So you can say they're underachieving. You can't really say Dallas is underachieving. They're doing exactly what we think Dallas does. With that, and I can't say in this last particular game, I would say the defense was more at fault in this loss than it was that they try to put that blame on Dak. I think this was the best game Dak played all year. The defense is who I think lost that game for them, but they do have a chance to, square up, so to speak, in a couple weeks, the rematch. But unless they address some issues, I think the cornerback, I think it's Gilmore, I think his absence really affected the flow and the transition of this defense. So we'll see how that goes. We always think Jerry Jones needs to stay in the owner's box and do what the owners do and let him and hire a general manager. I think that's their problem. It's going to be their problem, but whatever. Let's see. Any other under and over achievers that we think of? Washington, maybe. The Commanders, maybe. I think I expect them to be a little better. Other than that, I don't see a whole lot of over and unders on that. So, yeah. All right, so we'll move on. Let's see. Then that brings us to, I know what it takes us to. It takes us to the power rankings. There you have it. Those are the new updated power rankings. After Monday night's football game, Philadelphia still hold at the top spot. Big win over the Cowboys. Solidified that. The Chiefs are holding tight again, once again at the second spot. Baltimore has moved up a few spots, looking really strong. They're starting to round into shape. There was the midway point. They're looking pretty good. They beat good teams not playing very good football, and now that they're playing good football, I think Baltimore is a team to be reckoned with. I think that's might be, excuse me. I think that might be the team that challenges Kansas City for the AFC Championship this year. Obviously, and then next up you have the Detroit Lions, who I think still might be playing a little bit better football than Philadelphia in the NFC. It's hard to say because of that one single game, but I think you can argue that Jared Goff is playing the best at the quarterback position in the NFC. You can't argue that. Let's see. After that, you got a nice, quiet, under-the-radar Jacksonville Jaguars team who's playing really good football, has a good, solid hold on the AFC South. After that, you have the healthy Cincinnati Bengals, who's making their charge. So you got to so keep an eye on Cincinnati. I know I just said Baltimore, but Cincinnati still has an opportunity. Only difference is their line doesn't block for anybody, but they're used to it. San Francisco is still holding in that power top 10, slowing down a little bit, losing 3 straight off the bye week. So I expect them to jump back pretty good this week. Dallas Cowboys, they're still hanging on there in the top 10. And then here you got pulling up is Cleveland grabbing the 10th spot. If you wanted to know, Pittsburgh is 13. I didn't look up Indianapolis. I'm sorry. I forgot. So there you go. You have your power rankings for that. So I guess it is now time to do our NFL picks of the week. And once again, our NFL picks are brought to you by Doc Sports. Text hashtag BWSPORTS to 2900 for your free $60 in picks. So first up, we have the Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bears. The battle of the bottom of the barrel. But one of these teams' quarterback is looking phenomenal. And, well, I don't want to say phenomenal. He's looking pretty good. And, they have a better defense. I mean, Chicago, who knows what's going on there. I mean, it is a clusterfuck up there 3 hours away from me. I don't know what's going on in Chicago. There's not a lot to say about this game. There's 3 wins combined with this game. So, yeah, I got this on here just to see who's the biggest loser. You know what I mean? Not who's the bigger winner, who's the biggest loser. And our network thought that Well, not bad. Almost even split since you can't be even since it's 7 of us. Couple of us went with Panthers, myself, DeLion, and the 3 black guys. Dan would love that one. And the rest of them went with the Bears. You know, the Bears let me down early, and I can't do it anymore with them. So I went with the Panthers. What was the line on that game? Chicago, 3.5. 38-5 is the over-under. So I expect, I think they got that 3.5 because they are at home. That's the only thing I can come up with. Who was that ESPN? Was that important? Ooh, the contents of a Michigan letter. This is the football show, so I guess I can look into that. And all it did was take me to the basketball game. So we're going to say no. Just say no to that game, yo. Sorry. That was bad. So we switch back to game 2. We got the New York Jets, 4-3, and the Las Vegas Raiders with interim head coach at 4-5. Let's see. I thought I picked these games to be, a little funny. See how the bottom of the barrels are doing. And this is another one of those games. You know what I mean? Who do you believe in? Is it Zach? Is it Jimmy? I don't know. Everything is going awry in both of these places. I guess it was a coin flip for the one, whoever he chose to pick, because that's exactly what happened. I coin flipped it, but I went with the Raiders because I love Las Vegas, and I will return, and I'm going in that sphere. That's the coolest thing in America right now is the Las Vegas Sphere. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's awesome. Next up, last game, this is our winning game. This is the Cleveland Browns. Looks like Deshaun Watson has decided to play football again. Looked decent last week, but still the strength of this football team is their defense. Old Myles Garrett over there getting things done. Going to see the red-hot Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens sitting at 7-2 on top of the AFC North and second place in the AFC. This looks really good on paper. It's going to be a really good game. Me as in a divisional foe, I'm paying a little attention to this game because we still have to play both of these guys again, even though we've won those games. So it should be a good, hard-nosed, old-school AFC North game. So because Baltimore is a running team, Cleveland's a defensive running stopping team. So we'll get to see Lamar open up a little bit more this game using his arm, his pocket presence that he's developed over the last year or two in the league. So this is how the network chose this game. We still got one lone rebel. My man Timmy, boy, he's going out on his own on this one. Everybody else took the Ravens. Should be a fun one. Let's see, the line on the last game, the line on the Giants game was the Jets. 1.5, 36.5 was the over. And on this game, the line is Baltimore 6. And the over-under is 37.5. So this should be a good weekend of games. Should be a good week of picks. Again, if you're looking to get your books in, go hit our friends over at Doc Sports, our friends over at MyBookie. They'll get you all squared away. Make sure you check in if you need a little help on choosing your path on your gambling, or not gambling, I want to say gambling, on your picks. Make sure you check out our good friend Rafael Esparza on You Can Bet That. He'll get you covered on all of those games and all the ins and outs for you to make an educated guess for your pick. So, awesome. So we're going to take that off the screen. All right, so that's what we got for the NFL games. Let's see, we're going to wrap this up. Looks like we're next up is The Beast Within. Let's see, The Beast Within brought to you by Inner Beast Sportswear. Check out all the latest new designs and announcements over BWSPORTS1.com. Great designs. My man Dan is that's his baby. I know he's been working on it for a couple of years. Got great apparel, so once you go over and check it out. Let's see. Oh, speaking of that, if you didn't see the ISTP this last weekend, our promotional fighting with in the Southern Indiana Combat Sports, man, it was a great show. I think there was a couple belts up. It was a good fight card, good turnout. Let's see, we had our good friend, UFC fighter Nate Manis in there, and his camp won a couple fights. If I'm not mistaken, the next one comes up in May. So be on the lookout. Check all their information out on our website, and you can check out some of these clips on the page and the website from a great fighting event this past weekend. The Lion and the fam was down there. They got good pics on the website and on the page for you can see. So go check that out. My Beast Within. Let's see. I'm going to go with Josh Dobbs. He's the ex-Steeler backup. He was until 6 days ago. He was a Cardinal, but he came off the plane 5 days with the team. Knew half of his teammates' names. Half of them knew him. Didn't really know the whole playbook. I think at times you could see the offensive coordinator like it was a sandlot, just, hey, these guys are going to do this and this with the pencil and the highlighter, and he comes out with the Minnesota Vikings and wins the football game. So, and then it wasn't like he wasn't delivering earlier in the season with the Cardinals. He beat the Cowboys, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But that's who gets my Beast Within. He unleashed his inner beast, Josh Dobbs. Awesome. So, there you have it for the show today. It was fun. Make sure I got to give you guys my picks, give you the network's pick, talk a little football. You get to see my pretty face. So I guess it's time for you to meet our friends. These are our friends, the friends that we like to hang. Where did my friends go? All of my friends are gone. Looks like it's spinning inside of the frame. That's hilarious. But I'm just going to tell you who our friends are. Let's see, what if it happens if I move it? Move it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, it's giving me the funny. There you go. There you go. There it is. Our friends. Our friends should be your friends. Once you check these guys out, Elite Performance, Checkered Life Customs. You can bet that. Doc Sports Picks, My Bookie, The Fighter's Friend, TheOne's Kitchen, Inner Beast Sportswear, and Southern Indiana Combat Productions, and the new added on deals, discounts, stored, and more. So check all of our friends out. We got good things for you everywhere. And football isn't the only thing we do here. We have other shows. Once you go ahead and check those guys out, you can see all of their past shows and upcoming shows here on the Facebook page or on our YouTube page. So check these guys out. Great shows, great guys, great content. So there you have it. That is the Dukes of Football, Season 5, Episode 10. We're about the halfway point of the NFL season, and we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the NCAA with the CFP selections and all of these things. So we got another weekend of great football. We have not only with our 6 picks that we have for our games this week, there's a gang of other good games going on. I think there's about 2 or 3 other ranked games going on in the college, and there's a couple key matchup and divisional games for the NFL this week. So get out there and watch the football all year, and make sure you check out the Indianapolis Colts playing Sunday morning. I could have picked them as a bonus pick, but they're playing somebody they should just really beat. So we're going to go for that. Good luck for them over in Germany. Hope they get them some nice, good no, I can't say Samuel Adams. I meant a good German lager. Yes, German lager. But that's all we got for today. I am the one. This is Dukes of Football. This is BW Sports. That is ESPN. And I am out. See ya. Bye-bye. I can't hit the button because the button won't work. The button